are starting our beautiful Friday Facebook Live. Hey everybody, I'm Melissa with Beloved Bust. We are going to do a little banter today, guiding your thoughts from can't, should, and doesn't matter to the I'm okay, I've got this, and I'm on my way. Right? With compassion and empathy for your sweet healing self. It's Friday. I'm feeling that. I'm glad it's Friday. Friday feels good. It's about time it was Friday. You ever get that? So guiding your thoughts from can't, should, and doesn't matter. Those are some of the most three that show up in that recovery stage when I'm working with clients. It shows up all the time. And I think if we just notice some of this, we don't even have to change it, but we notice it and watch it. And then we can add some different things that we can do. We're going to talk about can't, should, and doesn't matter, how that can show up, and then ways that you can kind of reframe that to get back in the healing zone. Okay. All right, we are talking about can't first. That is a biggie. Can't. I can't do this yet. Often can't is around activities. Like, I can't play tennis. I can't do this. We're comparing our current self, where you are right now, to some part of you or person that you were before having had breast cancer, before this stage. And so in that comparison, we're limiting really what we can do just by thinking that. Like, I can't do this, and it makes our brain almost take everything off of the table. Like, I can't do this, I can't do that. Right? So if we are talking about activity, just notice that. Like, is that another activity? Just thinking about it. And what am I making this mean? Is a really great question that can interrupt that thought process. Like, oh, you catch it. Oh, I can't play pickleball. So what am I making this mean? That I'm never going back, that I'm not going to be able to do activity ever again, that I'm making this mean I'm going to gain a bunch of weight and not fit in my favorite pants. It can be very a big, deep inquiry when I say I can't. What am I making this mean? And so you can just journal that, right? And just kind of ponder, because sometimes we don't even know what we're making it mean, and there's a lot of stuff in there. So, what am I making this mean? I can't exercise yet. What am I making this mean? I'm making it mean it makes me feel older than I really am. What am I making this mean? That I can't do something, that I'm never going to be able to do it again, that I can't do anything. I'm making it mean that my self-worth or part of me is never going to come back, right? Like I lost parts of myself, that I'm different, so I'm less valuable, or, right? Even just in our own eyes. So what are we making that mean? If I can't do something, if I've declared in my head, my thoughts like, oh, I can't do that. So we just notice, what am I making that mean? And again, you can just journal and just let that popcorn out and kind of unbury that. And so you can look at that. Does this mean I'm less valuable and kind of lump? No, not really. It just means that I'm still recovering, right? So you can reframe that, just noticing what maybe be buried under that I can't. And then we just bring it to the surface, and then we can look at that like, is that really true? Maybe the can't part is, but what am I making that mean? Those things we can question and look at and decide if that's what we really want to believe, or that's really a part of our story. Is this a part of your story right now? Okay, so we go to the can't. If we find the can't is showing up, then we can notice, is that an activity? Because we're going to play with that later. I'm going to tell you how we can really unwind that thought process. So is it usually surrounding an activity? And then what am I making this mean? And then go into those spaces. And just a little heads up, can be a little bit of not yet, right? Which sounds a lot easier to settle or to hold as opposed to like never again. Okay, so can't. Now we go to should. So if our thoughts are kind of should, we're usually in comparison, like to a friend of ours that we know who's in recovery stage as well. Maybe they're doing more or something different than you that you would like to do. So there's that comparison. So just notice that. The opposite of should is I've got this. We're bringing our thoughts to this very moment where you are right today in your recovery, how you're feeling this moment, which can change throughout the day. In the morning, I might have more energy or more bandwidth to kind of engage on these certain levels. And by the afternoon, I'm like, whoo, I need a nap, or I need a cup of tea, or I need to just go be alone and watch a little Gilded Age, right? So should, we look at activity. You might be thinking I should spend my time differently. I should be a better friend or a better partner, because some of your energy is really taken in because you're healing, right? So we can balance, we understand all those things, but when we're in that mind and our brain is like, I should be able to do this. I should be a better wife. I should be a better friend. I should volunteer for that thing in my kid's school. Like, no, you shouldn't. I should do more around the house. I should show up and lead that project at work, right? Those are kind of the should thing. And that can lead to doing too much. And then when we do too much, it will jump into can't. So if I have a lot of shoulds and I start basing my activity level or what I need to do based on shoulds, I should do this, that's going to usually put us into overwhelm because we're doing too much. And then that goes into can't. I can't do anything, right? So it feeds into each other very much. So watch that. They start getting really entangled, and that can be a whole big old bad day, right? If you're like, I should, and then all of a sudden I can't, So we are going to learn to listen and watch those signs, right? When we talk about threshold and overwhelm and self-care, that is what we're paying attention to. So can't and should, very close friends. The other one that shows up a lot with my clients is the doesn't matter stage. And again, very much friends with should and can't. And so doesn't matter. You might have been told by your doctor that this is as good as it gets. So you're like, I can't do anything, doesn't matter. Like there's that space of a really heartfelt space of kind of hopelessness. It could even be just a subtle piece of that, or even helplessness, like I'm trying all these things and nothing's working. So we go into this kind of where we just really pull away, like it doesn't matter, I just can't do anything. I just have breast cancer. And so it makes our world very, very small, and the brain isn't very helpful in that moment as we try and do different things or engage in different levels. It can lead to some of that isolation that often shows up. And it's not your fault. None of these are anyone's fault. And so we just bring it up as a way to take our thermostat, to do a little inventory and check in how we're doing. And we can catch these thoughts on the front end and re-guide them into spaces, again, where we are more in that healing zone. So doesn't matter can be a result of being and should and can't for a long time. Doesn't matter can show up when you really keep maybe getting bucked off, and then you get back onto something. I'm going to really try this again, and then it hurts, it doesn't work, and it goes into I can't, and then can lead into doesn't matter, which is that isolating kind of pull away space. Often that can be surrounding flare-ups. Last week we talked about flare-ups. It's a really great video and wrote a little blog about that, or actually I'll write that this weekend. So be on the lookout for that about flare-ups. And so what we can do and manage and how we can watch those flare-ups come in and out like weather. And when we have a lot of flare-ups and we're not watching them from that space of empathy and compassion, it can go into that doesn't matter, because maybe you keep trying things and it flares everything up. And so I can't, I should, right? So then we're in this cycle. And it doesn't feel very good to your sweetheart or your body, and it's hard to get out of. And it can just get bigger and bigger, kind of like a hole that we kind of get in, and it's harder to dig ourselves out. And so doesn't matter, again, leads into can't and should. And just before we move into that, can't is usually surrounded by activity. And then we go into like, what am I making this mean about myself? And then should is usually in comparison. We're comparing ourselves to what the doctor said or what our neighbor's doing or what we just think we should say. So we can ask ourselves, I should be able to do that. Says who? And you can journal about that. Do I think I should be doing more? Does my doctor think I should be doing more? Does my neighbor? And then really, where am I? We're going to learn how to check in with ourselves. Okay? So can't, should, and doesn't matter. What do we do about it? All right. So for can't, I usually associate the word can't with just, we can apply the word not yet. I can't play pickleball. Not yet. Not yet. I'm going to kick your ass later. Not there yet, but right? So when you find your brain using the word can't, you can add a little not yet. That might kick you into doesn't matter or I should. I should be able to do it now and not later, right? Just notice that little pattern. And then I would love it, right? Try this on. I've had my clients go into the space as opposed to activities. It depends on how you kind of view yourself. Like we have different patterns, whether we're people or activities or things, how we kind of identify ourselves. But if you're an activity sorter and you think about activities as in I can't do this and it's another activity, I bring up a list of characteristics about yourself. There's parts of you that are very much the same. There's strengths and personality traits and characteristics of you that have carried you through this whole journey of having had breast cancer. And so come up with 3 characteristics that you truly, truly like and love about yourself, that you respect, that you're proud of. And sometimes that can be hard to come up with, especially when we're in it. So ask some of your breast buddies or your best bud, could you, several people. So you get a list of different things from people that you love and trust and ask them, can you share 3 characteristics about me that you really love that, and they can just text you. It doesn't have to be a big old thing. 3 characteristics about me that you like that have nothing to do with activity, right? So if you need a little help creating a little bit of a list, and so when you go into can't, we just go to not yet, and then we can look at the traits that we are in. Loyal, lovable, compassionate, empathetic. You might be a great mom. You might be really funny. Yeah. You might be able to, you're a great networker. You really connect people. There's all these amazing traits and characteristics and qualities. If you're here in recovery after breast cancer, we've got a billion, right? Strength, resilience, freaking brave, right? All of those. So if you need some help with that, ask your friends, but also you can even reach out on the board here in the group and ask other women, what are some of your qualities and strengths that you love about yourself as you've gone through this breast cancer journey? Can't schmand. I'm loyal, I'm brave, courageous. Okay. Funny, giving, the best pancake maker. Okay. Should, right? When we get that should space in our head, I should be doing this, we're usually in comparison. And so, again, we can bring up that question. I should be playing tennis by now. Says who? We just notice. Like, where did I come up with that idea? Where am I gauging that or comparing that to? That can be helpful and insightful. Like, well, so-and-so is better. And then you can talk to yourself. Like, well, she maybe had a lumpectomy and not a double mastectomy with expanders and reconstructive surgery. A lot of difference there. Maybe someone only got 1 lymph node versus the 17, or right? There's so many different types of surgeries and treatments. Someone might have radiation or not radiation, or the extent of the radiation versus someone else. So it's all, everyone is so, so different. So giving yourself some empathy and compassion, but bringing attention to it so you can notice. Because our brain, when we're in should, can't, and doesn't matter, we're not bringing in the whole picture. Our brain is just using specific facts or thoughts to support that idea. So bring in some more concepts and facts that actually counter the idea that you can't do something or that I should be able to do something. Is it the doctor, your spouse, your friends, or usually ourselves? We're quite sometimes that we can be our best cheerleaders, and we can also be our the person that the thoughts, the processes that get in the way of healing. Just when it's not in our attention, we just don't even realize we're doing that. No fault of anyone's. We're just bringing attention to this process. It's so common, right? So we're just talking about it. So make a list of what you can do. If you're in should and you notice that, notice the comparison, says who. And then just be curious about the story that you're telling yourself that supports that should concept. And then let's make a list of all the things that you are doing, right? On every Friday in the group, I'll post often to celebrate your wins and all the wins, big or small, whether you took time for yourself, right? That's a huge win. Whether you were able to do something more or maybe you took something off your plate, right? All of these things in support of you, yourself, your healing process, and growing and finding those empathy and compassion thoughts, moments, creating space for you to heal. So we make a list of all the things you can do, celebrating every little thing. And then here's something for you, brag. And sometimes brag is like, like women are taught not to brag. So do it in a little group with your best friend or something. And so we can brag, which is bringing up that small piece of celebrating, right? I brag that I saw clients this week, and then I'm taking all day Friday off, taking care of myself, right? I brag that I went for a walk yesterday, even when I didn't feel like it. And then by the middle of the walk, I was like, yes, I'm out here walking, right? So finding those little wins and then even bragging about it, as in sharing with somebody that you care and love and trust for that high five. Share in our group, right? In a very safe place in our private group, you can share those wins. And that can help counter the thought process when you're stuck in should. All right, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter often, right? How do we get out of, or what do we do when we're in that space? Again, there's a little bit of heartache that comes with that. Doesn't matter, can come from being in can't and should for too long, or just a lot of that. And then we just kind of get kicked out into doesn't matter, where we start to isolate ourselves and not try or not engage on different levels. It can show up like I used to. I already did that. I tried that already. It didn't work for me, right? Different areas of that. And so notice if you're in the past or if you're in the future. That can show up like that. Like your thought process might be in the past. So you're comparing your current beautiful healing self to the woman you were before you got your diagnosis. Maybe the activity level or whatever it is about it. The pair of pants you used to fit in, whatever. Just notice if you're comparing yourself or kind of living in the past. The other piece is the future tripping, right? So we might not be in the past, we might be in the future. And that shows up like, I'm never going to be able to run again. I'm not going to be able to ever, I'm just not going to feel myself ever again. I'm not going to be able to, right? We go into that I never in that, where it's an all-encompassing thing. We're kind of writing off everything in the future. I'm just always going to be in pain forever. And sometimes we have pain, but also that piece like always, never, I'm just, right? Be aware of that. Watch that show up, and we just watch it. We're creating a witness to notice what the thoughts are so then we can engage in that and add a little something, something. If we're stuck and doesn't matter, the biggest thing you can do is go into that space of rest and self-care. Usually it means we're in overwhelm, we're past threshold, It can be, doesn't matter, can show up because we're doing too much. Like we're trying all the shoulds and we're doing them anyway. And then we get kicked out to can't because it hurts or because we did too much and we don't have the bandwidth, the threshold. We went faster than our body wants to. And so we get stuck then into doesn't matter. I just can't, I'm not going to do it anymore. I can't. Every time I try and do something, it doesn't work. And it can be associated with flare-ups. And we talked about flare-ups last week. I'll post the blog this weekend about that and send it out as a newsletter. Flare-ups are really, really important piece to be mindful of and to, again, engage in that from that compassion and empathetic space within yourself. And so we can bring ourselves to the present. So instead of thinking about the past or comparing ourselves to the past or to the future of what we are never going to be able to do again, or we're going to do this all the time, we go into the present. What do I want to do right this second? What does my body need? Like, what do I really want to do? Like, I don't want to go to work. Oh, figure it out, right? Can you take a sick day? Not because you're sick and in bed and not because of this, but what if you played hooky and called in and took care of yourself and just laid in bed and watched Netflix? Or called one of the days of your weekend or a day off or whatever, claimed the house, claimed the TV, claimed your room, whatever, and you just took that time. You took that time to sit by the fire. Whatever it is that really can help you bring it together. And we talk about in this group a lot about making a list or creating, noticing the self-care that works for you. Right? In that fifth video on the 5-day journey, that free journey, we talk about celebrating. And we even talk about the 5 different love languages as far as maybe what your love language is and what speaks to you. Whether it's time by yourself, time with friends, maybe you like touch and so you get a massage or you get a pedicure or you take a bath, right? All these different ways that you're collecting ideas of how to really get to know yourself and what helps you feel safe and okay and even feels good. That can counter those spaces when we find ourselves in it doesn't matter. So we counter with rest and allow ourselves time to process. And we're in recovery. You're still healing, right? And so when you find can't, should, and doesn't matter showing up in your world, those are the ways that you can kind of counter those and get back into the present in this space where you can find that compassion, empathy for yourself and guide yourself back into that healing zone, which can be more of a feeling of I'm okay. We can find spaces where parts of you can acknowledge how brave and courageous, right? Collecting those characteristics that you admire and like about yourself. And we come back to that space right here into those I'm okay. What do I need? What does my body need? And remember, can't, should, and doesn't matter. They often kind of lead into each other. So it doesn't matter where in the cycle you are, you can just kind of notice your thoughts. Just notice maybe when you're feeling irritable or some chaos or just not feeling centered or grounded. You can just take a little inventory and just notice. And then use some of these tools to add to that thought process that can help bring you back into that healing zone, to that I'm okay, I'm on my way. So we have characteristics that aren't activities based, celebrating all of those wins, each and every one of them to get out of shoulds, and then nurturing self-care, giving yourself time to process, taking things off your plate to regroup. I'm Melissa. I'm with Beloved Bust. I'm so glad you're here. Let me know if you have any questions. And let me know how it's going. Do you have 3 characteristics about yourself that you like and admire that you can use to support yourself through your recovery journey? Who might you be comparing yourself to in your recovery journey that throws you into shoulds? Just identifying and watching these show up can help bring you back. You can notice some of that underlying things that are happening with in our subconscious we're not even noticing. So we bring them into our attention and we can say, that's not right. That doesn't work for me. That doesn't actually resonate with me anymore. Can't, should, and doesn't matter. I'll be writing a blog on this next week, and be look on the lookout. We're going to continue to talk about flare-ups as well, how to identify them and how to ride them out and get back into space of feeling I'm okay. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and I'll talk to you soon.